Hey everyone, and welcome to the Rugger. My name is Nate. I'm going to go through the squad that just dropped for the upcoming Ireland versus Italy game on Saturday. That's going to be in the Aviva this time. It's going to be a home game. Bit of time has passed since the terrible, terrible French game where we got annihilated. So the dust has settled a bit there. People have not lost their heads as much as they were about 5 days ago. So that's relief. It's nice to get that a little bit behind us, turn the page a bit, and have another crack at the Six Nations. But it was a huge reaction. So it just goes to show be careful, how many sources of news that you access. It can be a bit overloading the negativity and the glass half empty kind of look that a lot of people had for that game. But, life goes on. So we do have the Italy game coming up. Ireland is playing them at home, and they have a pretty good record. They haven't lost against Italy in Dublin since 2013, which is a very good stat. Ireland do very well against the Italians, but I suppose you have to take into consideration Italy have their tails up, and rightfully so, after a terrific game against Scotland last weekend on Saturday afternoon in the Stadio Olimpica. So again, that was a very wet game, terrible conditions. But Italy really fronted up, dominated really for the majority of the game. Nearly had it stolen by the Scots at the end, but they did deserve to win. So yeah, it was a cracker. And really, in a way, I'm thinking if we're going to lose to anyone in the Six Nations, I'd rather it be the Italians than anyone else because it's just really good for rugby. And even the world rankings, Ireland is ranked 5 now, Italy is ranked 9. I can't remember the last time they've been so close together on the table like that. So it just does make it very spicy. So the Irish aren't taking anything for granted. So the squad dropped earlier on today in the afternoon around 2 o'clock. Normally drops on Instagram first, really, before anything else. And one thing I have been noticing when they drop the team on Instagram, the alignment of the names can be a bit confusing. It's not like this where you can kind of see the position and the name under it. It seems to be a little bit backwards. So it's just a little bit of a niggle that I noticed, but they used to do it, about 6 months, about a year ago. They used to have it by position. It was just so much easier to read. So just a little thing I've noticed from lately. But I actually did notice on Instagram they dropped it again with the proper positions laid out, which made it a lot more. I suppose if you're like me, visually, you need to kind of see the positions to really get who's going where. So I've done it here on the whiteboard again. I'm going to go through the names, just to take you through, who has gotten through this week. It seems a really fresh, shaken up squad, which is great. Exactly what we want to see. The only thing I noticed from the off is Sam Prendergast is playing and he's starting again. And I know that's going to provoke a lot of reactions from a lot of fans. I think last week he was not terrific. It wasn't like the worst player in the world, but I don't think he had a great game. There was at least one try that I think he looked like he really let in. The Jellybird try, the second French try just looked like a totally kind of brush past Sam. Now some people say that was up to Tommy O'Brien's kind of lane to defend in, but really, God, it just looked very weak defense. So defense is still on everyone's lips when it comes to Sam Prendergast, regardless of the the other the aspects of his game. But people do admit he's still a really good playmaker, still really good, and that those kind of delayed passes that he does are still really effective. He did that a few times against France, and it looked really really nice. So he can still look really smooth, but it just seems like he's still a project player or something. So Andy Farrell just seems to be really backing him. So surprised, Harry Byrne hasn't gotten a chance here. And normally it's the Italy game. You try out your creativity with players and give people a chance that haven't gotten a chance before. But the power has shifted now so much between Wales and Italy. I mean, Italy are, in the top 10. Wales aren't. I think they're ranked number 11 in the world now. So it does seem to just be slowly changing that Wales is now the practice game that you put in, players that you wouldn't normally, that want some screen time, that want to see what they can do, experiment. It just seems that that's fallen now to the Welsh game. But this is still besides Sam, everything else is really nice and experimental here. So for the forwards, we've got Jeremy Loughman, Dan Sheehan, and Thomas Clarkson. So very similar. I think Clarkson he started last week. So it's the exact same front row as last week, which makes sense because the scrum actually went really well. I don't think Ireland lost any of the scrums against France. That's really saying something. There were still improvements in that game. It's just that score blew any kind of positive spin out of the water, but the scrums held up very well and the lineouts. So they're keeping the front rows the exact same, which is good. Really delighted Jeremy Loughman. We have another Munster player in there in the mix. It's no longer Leinster everywhere. You have Munster players representing, and Ulster players especially as well. So great to see that he's back at loose head, that the loose head crisis isn't as big as we thought. Now, funnily enough, Tom O'Toole is the backup on the bench for him. Now, he normally plays, he's an Ulster player. I was a really big fan of his when he was playing for Ireland a couple of years ago, and he just seems to have been sidelined, probably because now he's played primarily as a tight head for Ulster. And he's been doing very well, but we are very, I suppose, comfortable, rich in the tight head position that he's rarely called upon. But now they've decided they're going to try him at loose head. He has played in loose head in the past, but really, if you see his percentages, it's predominantly a tight head. So I was surprised they picked him. Still hope he has a great game. Really big, massive guy, great player. But I was just surprised that Michael Milne did not get another shot, because he played fantastic last week. Another Munster loose head prop, and he scored a try. So I thought, if anyone's going to play, it's got to be this guy coming off the bench. Really good impact player. Thought he did great for Ireland. So just surprised that they've done that switch up. Maybe they're just trying to blood more players for loose head. Maybe they're paranoid they're never going to get Andrew Porter back, or Paddy McCarthy, or Jack Boyle, but just thought it was an odd choice. But we'll see how he gets on. And then we've got Ronan Kelleher backing up Dan Sheehan for hooker. And then Tyke Furlong is back in the mix for backing up at tight head. So Tyke has this really roaring, recurring calf problem throughout the years now, it feels, at least the last couple of years, that he flares up and he has this calf issue. So he was looking a little bit iffy there, but now he's deemed good enough to come back coming off the bench. Now, it's always great when we have Tyke Furlong. The guy's got huge caliber as a tight head prop, three-time Lion, massive experience. At one stage, he was the best tight end in the world. He's a huge pedigree. So good to have him on the team. So that's our front row. And then for our locks, we've got Joe McCarthy and James Ryan. So Joe McCarthy, some people were surprised at this because he did have a bit of a brain fart and tackled one of the French players. Real obvious penalty he gave away at the breakdown. It was so blatant. It was like, no way he wasn't going to get caught when it happened. But I'd say they gave him a stern word in private and still kept him on, because he is a really good engine room kind of player. And then next to him is James Ryan, who had a really good time off the bench last week. So those are the two starting locks. But for backup, we've got very special debut appearance from Edwin Adogbo, the Munster lock, which I'm really excited about. I've always been a big fan of his. Really just love watching him play for Munster. Big, massive guy. Just, again, another really good kind of engine room player. Big unit. Really popular player in Munster. Has just had really bad luck with injuries the last couple of years. His brother, Sean Adogbo, as well, is also a very good up-and-coming player that you should keep your eye out for Munster. Be great to see both of them on the pitch for Ireland someday. But this is his debut, and I wish him best of luck. Hope he really tears up some trees. He's great because they're doing the 6-2 split again, so we can play someone like him to play around with the Italians. And then we've got Tadhg Beirne as well for backup. Now, he can obviously play back here at blindside flanker, but he's probably more known for his lock position, so he's coming on off the bench. So it's a very strong, bench we've got with the forwards coming on. That's going to be a really interesting part of the game. Whether Ireland are blowing the Italians away, whether it's a close game or not, that is going to be a real clutch moment when they unload the forwards bench. So that'll be just a great sight to see Tadhg Beirne and Edwin Adogbo coming on together, hopefully, off the bench. So then the back row for blindside flanker, we've got another guy who deserves a lot more screen time. It's Cormac Izuchukwu. So he is playing obviously from Ulster, and he has, I suppose he kind of gotten appearances recently in the last 6 months to a year, but it's just great to see again. We're changing up the back row a lot because usually it's Tadhg Beirne or Cian Prendergast, so we're putting him here in the back row. So then we've got Jack Conan. Now he's taking the 8 position, which is usually Caelan Doris's, but they've changed it up, and I like this because Caelan can play open side flanker as well. It's not his first position, but he's done all right in the past. So I think it was because Jack Conan made such an impression off the bench against France that they said that he's got to start, and he's a really good player, really big, heavy guy. So I like that they're changing this up. And, because Caelan Doris is the captain, he's got to play somewhere. So it makes sense to put him at this position at open side where he's got experience. And then coming off the bench for that would be Nick Timoney. Now, he can play 8 as well, or open side flanker. He's a good guy to have as well off the bench. Let's say a lot of people, including myself, are surprised he is on the bench because he really was the best player for Ireland last week. Maybe Stuart McCluskey was a little bit behind him, but I think Nick Timoney just made the best account of anybody for the limited time that he had off the bench. Just changed the flow immediately. It changed from being a rout to a loss, but a loss with something on the board to account for. He got the first try for Ireland, and that was followed shortly by Milne's try. So it really kind of saved our dignity a bit. It kind of clawed back a bit of respect. To get into double digits on the board is really important when you're getting hockey like that, so you can say you at least did something. So he is on the bench. That is a really wicked bench for the forwards. Just really excited that, this is probably the most changed up team we've seen in a good while, because Ireland can be really predictable. You could nearly kind of handpick who's going to get picked most times for the big games, but this is really up in the air, nice, creative, kind of experimental flow to it. So those are the forwards. And as I said, it's a 6-2 bench, which I'd say, does suit this game because the Italian team is big pack of forwards, really big, heavy guys. So it will be kind of hammer and tongs, I'd say, in the scrum. They have a really good scrum as well, the Italians, that really kind of stood up to the South Africans back in the autumn. So these guys are not to be underestimated. These Italians are on the up, definitely. They just seem to have a kind of momentum. They're doing better than I think I saw on one of the podcasts recently that they've won just as many games in the Six Nations that Scotland has in the last year, which is, something people would dare to dream with about 5 years ago. So we've got the fly half. I've said about Sam Prendergast, mixed reaction, I suppose. Still has a lot of talent, but just that defense just keeps following him like, it's like a plague nearly. It's just always in the press about his defense. But he's been chosen again at fly half to start. And you just wonder about Harry Byrne. Like, what does Harry Byrne have to do? Because I thought if he's going to play any game, it's going to be the Italy game. I actually was really hoping he'd be picked for the French game, but obviously he wasn't. But I just think he's done a great job this season. Really, I'd say he's been the healthiest fly half out of all of them. So it's just baffling that he's still not getting picked here. I hope he gets picked at least for the Wales game. At this rate, you're like, is he going to get to be able to play at all? Is he going to get to play off the bench? But he has to. I mean, you pick a fly half, all your fly halves for the squad for that Six Nations. You got to give all of them airtime, give him a chance, and he deserves that chance. So it was disappointing not to see him even involved in this game. Now we've switched the scrum halves. Jameson Gibson-Park, not many good reviews of him in the French game again. Another player who just kind of came out looking not so great. So he's on the bench this time, which makes sense. Probably deserves a break as well. Craig Casey's going to be starting. I think that's a great idea. The guy's going to be really thirsty. He's always trying to prove himself. He was captain for Ireland during the summer while all the guys were at the Lions tour. And he's bulked up a bit too. It's made him a tiny bit slower. He used to be a real snippy scrum half. I think the extra muscle he's put on has slowed him down a bit, but he's still finding his feet with that change. But he just shows that he's taking it very seriously. He's putting on all that weight, that muscle. So he's really, just a determined scrum half. And I think it's interesting to see him work with Sam Prendergast because it's rare that they start together. It's usually the Munster halfbacks on the bench and the Leinster halfbacks that start, or maybe vice versa. But chopping them and changing them like this, I just think it's an interesting move. Hope it works out. The centres are the exact same from last week. Stuart McCluskey on inside centre, Gary Ringrose on outside. Gary Ringrose didn't get good reviews either. Just really, I don't know. It wasn't that he did bad things. Just nobody said he didn't. He said nobody said he did anything particularly great. I do think Stuart McCluskey was one of the better players last week. So that's unchanged. And then for our wingers, now this is pretty interesting. The left winger has gone back to James Lowe, who really had that position nailed down for what feels like 4 or 5 years now. The left winger last week was Jacob Stockdale, who was really rooting for to have a good game. Didn't really do anything, again, extraordinary, like a lot of guys in that game. And it just felt a bit flat. That was really kind of a hyped return, especially for that fixture. So now James Lowe is kind of taking it back a bit. And I think he'll be really motivated after being sidelined last week. Is it too late to give up on him? A lot of people are saying he should hang up his boots because of his age. It's pretty, I think that's pretty brutal considering the fact that we hung on for Keith Earls for so long. He was 35 or something going into the 2023 World Cup. So that's how old James Lowe will be. It is strange, normally wingers are in their mid to late 20s, the real X factor ones. I suppose just it seems to be one of those positions that's under pressure with the age profile more than any other position, just because you require that speed. Those legs get tired once you hit your 30s. So James Lowe has been picked. He's got that left boot. He could redeem himself a bit, get a bit more credit in the bank. Has been having a terrific season, so I hope it is a good game for him. Right winger, this is great. Robert Balogun. He's an Ulster player that just seems to have bad luck with injuries the last couple of years, but he is in flying form this season. Really happy he's gotten this opportunity for right winger. Really fast guy. It just seems like probably one of the tallest wingers that we have at our disposal. Just seems to make just huge strides whenever he moves his legs. So yeah, he's got serious pace. Really excited to see how he gets on as a winger. And then we've got for fullback, again, Jamie Osborne, that's unchanged. He had a terrific 50-22 in the French game, and then after that, all our 50-22 seemed to dry up. Not that that's his sole responsibility, but yeah, I don't know. Can't really remember anything great he did either last week, but they've held on to him. There is, I suppose you could say, a crisis at fullback, considering that we have Mac Hansen out and Hugo Keenan, both of whom would probably have that before anybody else. So a lot of people want Jamie Osborne to come in at 12, where his regular position would be. That just doesn't seem to be happening. They're keeping him at fullback. I think they're happy with the job that he's doing, but they're hoping that players like Hugo Keenan comes back off of injury, Mac Hansen, because he played so good against that game in Australia as a fullback. So for the time being, Jamie Osborne just seems to be, not a band-aid as such, but just the best option for Ireland right now. And then I just put Jack Crowley under this position as replacement, but he could really go to fly half. He could go to center. So he is the last replacement from that 6-2 combination. And I think at the moment, it probably suits Jack Crowley. I think actually the game seemed to pick up a lot once he came off the bench last week. So I think for now, considering the up and down season he's had, I think off the bench suits him most right now. He might get a chance to come, in the starting 15 as the tournament progresses. But yeah, I just hope he keeps on doing what he's doing. And he is a nice Swiss Army knife player to have. I think he's great as a fullback, and he'd probably play winger as well, really, if push came to shove. So for a 6-2, it makes sense to have him on for the utility back, I guess you could say. So that is the team. It's supposed to be an Irish win, as in the bookies are saying, Ireland are the favourites to win this by 14 points or whichever, 17 points. 2 scores and change, I think, is the prediction right now. Could be closer. I would love a really good scrap with the Italians just to see. I think Ireland need a redemption game. They need something to placate the fans, inspire the fans. Just they need to get points on the board. Like, in the group table, they're at 0. It's not looking good. It's bleak. Even though we're only 1 game in, the Six Nations flies by us. So they need to get those points on the board ASAP. They need a comprehensive win over Italy, given the history, given the backlash, the media backlash from the French game. Are they under pressure? Yes, but I would say they are more under pressure from Andy Farrell than anybody else. Andy Farrell was in the press conference after saying that they didn't have the intent. That was quoted ad nauseum this week from all the different YouTube pundits and Irish media pundits. So when it's very rare that Andy would say these kind of things, So he's kind of openly communicating to the team through this press conference to say, you guys weren't good enough. You got to get the finger out and put some points on the board. It's because I'd say they're still thinking that the Lions tour is a hangover that can get inside players' heads a bit. But he's got to really shake them out of this stupor and get their heads back together like that really nice, well-oiled machine we know that they are. So it's really all to play for. It's an important game. So yeah, it's going to be on at 2:10 p.m. on Saturday. So wish them the best of luck, and we'll see what happens. And I'll be doing a video review for afterwards. But always great to have Italy in Dublin. The Italian fans are just are always a breath of fresh air. They're really energetic, really patriotic. They always make themselves known wherever they go. Really good traveling fans, a lot like the Irish actually. So yeah, be looking forward to this fixture. I hope you liked the video. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment. What do you think is going to happen? Who's going to win? Is it going to be a thrashing? Is it going to be an upset? Who knows? But I just hope that you get a chance to watch the game and enjoy it.